Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Have you ever wondered what happens when slight, everyday deviations in human speech meet the literal, completely unforgiving ear of artificial intelligence? Well, today we're analyzing a fascinating real-world phonetic case study. We're going to take an audio sample regarding a Swatch watch release and compare the speaker's intended script against what YouTube's auto-generation algorithm actually heard. And look, this isn't just about spotting typos. It's a clinical diagnostic of pronunciation mechanics. You see, modern AI transcription doesn't politely guess what you meant through context the way a human listener would. Instead, it acts as an uncompromising phonetic mirror. We'll be evaluating this speech on a strict, objective scale, where a native speaker sets the benchmark at 100 points, and a baseline CEFR A1 level sits at exactly 0. There's no sugarcoating here, folks, just pure, unfiltered acoustic analysis. Let's get into it.
Here is the roadmap for our clinical diagnostic today. First, we'll look at the transcription gap, then the overall pronunciation score. After that, we'll do a phoneme breakdown, and finally, we'll examine the vocabulary errors.
All right, Section 1, the transcription gap, intended versus interpreted. Before we diagnose the actual failures, we need to look at the raw data.
Now, what's absolutely wild here is the stark contrast between the intended script, which is about the Swatch Royal Pop Collection, and what the AI actually processed. The intended narrative is clear, right? We're talking about a global frenzy over a new watch, high demand causing chaos, and police deploying tear gas. But the AI transcript? It translates global frenzy into global friendly. The word chaos turns into the completely made-up word chose. And maybe most alarmingly, tear gas gets transcribed as takas. Even basic structural words completely fell apart, like because, mutating into record. I want to be clear, this isn't a microphone issue. This is a fundamental breakdown in how the speaker is articulating specific sounds, which leads the AI down a completely different and honestly nonsensical semantic path.
Moving on to Section 2. Overall pronunciation score, establishing the baseline. Let's objectively diagnose the severity of these symptoms. So the overall diagnostic score sits at a 45 out of 100. And just as a quick reminder, 100 is native level mastery, and 0 is absolute beginner. A score of 45 tells us that while some basic structure is definitely there, crucial keywords suffered from severe syllable omissions and consonant substitutions. Now, a really important distinction here, this isn't just about having an accent. Literally everyone has an accent. This is purely about intelligibility. At a 45, the speaker is fundamentally severely impairing information transfer. The listener, or in this case the AI, is practically forced to guess the meaning of the sentence because the acoustic data it's receiving is just critically flawed. To understand why this happens, we need to talk about plosives. This concept completely explains why the AI system became so confused. A plosive is basically a consonant sound produced by stopping the airflow in your vocal tract and then suddenly releasing it. But the magic difference is in the vocal cords. Actually, try this with me. Put your hand on your throat and make a g sound. You should feel a vibration, right? That means it's voiced. Now make a k sound. No vibration at all. That's voiceless. When a speaker fails to engage their vocal cords for a voiced plosive, a g instantly turns into a k. It's a tiny mechanical error in the throat, but it completely changes the data the AI receives. Okay, Section 3, phoneme breakdown, the root causes. This is where we strip away the words entirely and just look at the raw acoustic building blocks.
This perfectly illustrates the exact phonetic breakdowns, ranked from lowest to highest accuracy. Starting right at the bottom with a really low score of 25, the unvoiced velar plosive, k, was severely misarticulated. In the word chaos, it shifted toward a ch sound, or the ch phoneme. Next up, look at the g sound, scoring a 30. Just like we just talked about with the throat vibration trick, the speaker completely devoiced the g in gas, turning it straight into a k. Moving up the list, the z phoneme scored a 35. Here, the speaker failed to maintain the necessary friction and vocal cord vibration in frenzy and basically replaced it with a hard d stop. Then we hit the vowels. The diphthong A scored 40 because it was flattened, what we call monothongicized, in chaos which completely robs the vowel of its natural glide. The E sound in tear scored a 45 because the tongue placement was just way too far back, mutating it into an aw sound. And finally, the plural S scored a 65. It wasn't necessarily mispronounced as a different letter, but it was simply dropped entirely at the end of products because of weak outward airflow.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, vocabulary errors, the manifestation. We've seen the raw phonemes. Now let's look at the real-world casualties.
Notice how a failure to voice a consonant or maintain a vowel completely erased or mutated these top 10 critical words. The word available scores a flat 0. It was spoken with such poor enunciation that the AI didn't even register a word was there. It literally just dropped it from the sentence. Chaos sits at 20 points. Because the ka shifted and the vowel flattened out, the AI just invented the word chose. Tied at 20 points is tear gas. This is a fascinating compounding error. The volunteer shifted and the ga in gas was devoiced to a ka. The result? The completely unrecognizable string of letters takas. Frenzy drops to 25 points, and this is a big one. Losing that buzzing Z friction led the AI to guess the word friendly, which, completely changes the emotional tone of a riot sentence. Because fell to 30 points, registering as record, showing a total collapse of both the initial consonant and the internal vowel. Functional grammar words like had and has scored a 50. Sloppy closure on the dut and Z endings caused the AI to hallucinate entirely different verb tenses, giving us have been and had issued. And lastly, product scores a 60. It's a seemingly minor error of dropping the final S that nonetheless completely strips the sentence of its plural meaning.
As we wrap up this explainer, we're reminded that clear communication ultimately relies on precise physical mechanics. Your tongue placement, your airflow, the vibration of your vocal cords, these are all critical data points. And when those data points are corrupted, the message is entirely lost. Modern AI transcription really does act as a brutal mirror, transforming minor phonetic deviations into total comprehension failure. So it leaves us with a pretty compelling question. If an AI were to coldly and objectively diagnose your daily speech, stripping away all human context and politeness, what hidden phonetic flaws would your auto-transcript reveal?